decided to create. So I apologize if you were on the other one and are just now finding your way here. Or if something else happened, let me know if you guys can hear me. Because apparently there are some issues with how YouTube likes to do stuff. And that, in my opinion, is frustrating. But with all that out of the way, guys, I want to thank you so much for being here. Don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe. Check me out at twitch.tv/Lore Reloaded. I like to hang out and have some fun there. As well as twitter.com/Lore Reloaded, where you will find the real me, the non-Trek version. I mean, this is the real me too, but I'm here for your entertainment. There, I'm just I'm a jerk. Let's just be honest about it. I mean, you guys are thinking it, and, I'm here saying it, so, I mean, why aren't we just being honest with each other, I really like it when you and me can be honest with each other, when we can connect like this. Sorry, I'm deleting the old thing. That's why I'm looking away from you. Don't worry, baby. I'm still listening to everything you say. Heard everything you said. We got Andre up in the house. German Trekkie, always fun. German Trekkie helped me out earlier. Video coming out with the Dominion War using some of his assets. Really, really cool dude. Al Wei Fu, what is going on? My day's fine. Hope yours is too. Judge 1981 in the house. Sideshow Kaz stuff. And Jeff Franklin, of course, and Bird of Prey 5, who apparently has his own movie coming out. I didn't even know that was a thing, but apparently it is. And yes, Michael Lindsay, I am about to dance. Nathan Norman, are you okay? Because you look like excrement. Well, thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Can I just say that is exactly what you say to a person? And that is how you interact with people. No, there's nothing wrong with what you just said, and it is amazing to me that people think nerds are bad at social skills. So thank you, Nathan. I sincerely appreciate that. Just ignoring that wonderful question that any sane human being would ask. Let's go ahead and just break it down and jump into the reason for this live stream. By the way, I do have a cold. Some people think it's the flu, but I don't think so. I think it's just a cold. So let's go ahead and discuss some of the issues that people are having with one of the videos I did, the most recent. And I think I will actually do an upload when it comes to the when it comes to talking about misogyny and sexism in the original series, because people kind of took what I said, and it's interesting because this always happens, and I'm always surprised by it. I will do a joke based on a small nugget of truth, but the joke is a bit hyperbolic just because it's a joke. So if you haven't watched my Cage breakdown or lore analysis of the Cage, there's at one point where Pike is interrupted by one of the most beautiful redheads I've ever seen, and he's just completely thrown off. Now, there's two reasons for this when you watch the entire episode, and honestly, remind me. I'll get into this after. Let's focus on how it looks, and then what may or may not have been happening that I should have went into that I didn't. First, he's thrown off by the human. He is somewhat rude to her and sends her on her way. And number one, the only female on the bridge besides the human, he says, this is your new officer. He been the replacement since the last one you lost. And Pike says that he's not used to having women on the bridge. This bothers number one, who looks at him, and he says, "Oh, not excluding you, number one." Now, this makes her happy for the moment, and then he says, "Well, I don't consider you a woman," effectively, which just breaks her heart. So when we look at that, when we break that down, at a minimum, in my opinion, it's disrespectful. First off, the reason why she looks hopeful and then looks disappointed is because she looks hopeful because he considers her a woman. He still thinks that, she's pretty. And then when he says, "Well, I don't even consider you a woman," she looks down because she, let's just say she wants the Captain Pike's award. So from start to finish, I think that it's disrespectful towards women. Now we're going to talk about it being in the 1960s in a second, so just chill out, okay? Just relax. But at a minimum, I think it's disrespectful. Again, I was hyperbolic about it, but again. Now there's another interpretation from that. I think. Standing Wave. Let's all give shout out for Standing Wave. He says, looking at the old show in a modern lens is a naughty word, and that you are a naughty word. Standing Wave. One in the chat for Standing Wave's brain, because apparently Standing Wave is mentally ill or doesn't have basic cognition to understand nuance or listen to a conversation. So if we can get a 1 in the chat for Standing Wave's brain dying. We also got Gavin Vels, who gave me $2 and unsubbed. I'm not sure who wins on that one. Going back to what I was saying, there's another interpretation for that when it comes to that interaction. The first interpretation is that we know he regrets what happened on, I think it was Rigel. Maybe it was Rigel. I think he regrets what happened. And so because of that, he has a new officer. Standing Wave, thanks for the shout out. Hey, love you, Standing Wave. He has a new officer, and he doesn't like the fact that he got his other yeoman killed. And so he's trying to hide it by saying, oh, it's because she's a woman. By the way, Standing Wave was trolling, so you guys got to take back your ones. Just remove them. Glad you like the show, Standing Wave. But you guys see what I'm saying? I'm sorry, you guys throw me off pretty easy. Another interpretation is that he was just saying that because he was embarrassed, because he regrets losing his officer, so he makes it about her being a woman. I'm not saying that's what he should have done, but that would have been an interesting context added to it. Because again, we know he regrets the losses. He feels like those losses shouldn't have happened. Now, let's assume, for the sake of argument, now for those who disagree with me, let's assume, for the sake of argument, that it was sexist. Now you may disagree with it. That's fine, but just keep with me here. It happened during the 1960s, and press 1 for the one that got deleted. Yeah, we all now have to press 1 for the one that got deleted. So press 1 again for the one. In the 1960s, it was pretty commonplace that the male hero, the protagonist, was loved by almost all of the females, or if not all of the females. He was really wanted. We see it in Doctor Who. We see it in Star Trek, the original series. I mean, just most all of them. That's just how writing was. Similar to how we see writing moving in the way of having the female protagonist with the male kind of set behind. So, given that, I think there's 2 points to it. First, if something has changed, or your opinions of something has changed, the way society was wrong, just for the sake of argument, then calling it out from what happened in the past isn't a bad thing necessarily. Everyone, what's up, Media Glitch? Media Glitch is an absolute wonderful channel. Y'all should definitely check him out. Joel, who's I think he's head of Media Glitch, actually does movies and stuff. I watch a lot of his stuff and watch him as a film student, so you guys should definitely check him out. But in the 1800s, going back to what I was saying, it happened in the 1960s. The culture was just that way. We can sit here and say in the 1800s, or during the formation of the United States, that slavery was absolutely wrong, that they shouldn't have had slaves. But I think that I would hold someone in 2019, someone who has a slave in 2019, to a higher standard than I would to someone in the 1800s. Just like I would hold what someone said in the 1960s to a lower standard to what someone says today. And I think that's where people get confused. It is okay to say when you think something is wrong or something shouldn't have been done. And it is also okay to say, that you, let me see. It's okay to say it's wrong. Sorry, lost my train of thought. It's okay to say it's wrong, but it's also okay not to judge someone as harshly in that era when that's what they grew up with. JJMFDL, which did better, Lost in Space in the 1950s or Voyager? I never really watched Lost in Space. I'm going to be honest with you. I watched a couple, but not a huge amount. I saw the movie. I wasn't impressed by the movie. I've had some requests to do Lost in Space. I probably will eventually. Backslide Dan says Ezri was Section 31. Think about it. It all fits. I should do a breakdown of that, a lore theory where Ezri causes the Dominion War because she was in Section 31. Think about it. It all makes sense. By the way, guys, thank you so much. If you don't know, the way I keep the lights on is through Super Chats, is through becoming a member. If you hit the join button down below, you can become a member. Works exactly as Patreon or joining patreon.com/Lore Reloaded. Couldn't do it without the wonderful donations from people like you as well as viewers like you. Standing Wave. You can find episodes of TNG and Voyager that come off a bit racist. I'll take it one. You can find episodes of TNG, DS9, and Voyager that are sexist too. In DS9, and a lot of people get upset when I say this, in DS9, and this is my opinion, a lot of people get mad about it. There is an episode where Cisco takes advantage of Dax. Has fun times with Dax. My daughter's here. Has fun times with Dax. She doesn't realize that it's him. And then when she calls it out, he laughs about it and says, he smirks about it and says, you weren't complaining at the time. He literally does something without her consent, an act that would get you put in jail for a long time. And no one ever talks about it. No one ever, and people don't even see about that. And oh man, don't even get me started. Don't even get me started on when Trip becomes pregnant against his consent, and everybody laughs at him for it. There are a lot of questionable writing, even in modern Trek. So, and that's a point too. And the difference, I will say this, to be fair to modern Trek, the difference in modern Trek and the difference between the original series is I do think the original series didn't care that they knew what they were doing. I don't think it was the intent of, modern Trek had the intent of doing what they did. Which show was it? Give me a second. Which episode? It was, hold on, waiting for it. It'll take me a second to find it. If you guys remember, it was Mirror Dax that he does it with. It was season 3, episode 19, Through the Looking Glass. So he, it was, again, so Cisco, just explain that one for a second. Cisco goes into the mirror universe, and he has to pretend to be Mirror Cisco when he's not. And apparently, Mirror Cisco and Mirror Dax have something going on. So real Cisco has relations with Mirror Dax. Mirror Dax isn't aware that it's real Cisco. Real Cisco is aware that it's Mirror Dax. After they get done, and Mirror Dax finds out about it, she slaps him. And he says, you didn't complain at the time. That is completely unreasonable. Al Weifu says, I'm going to have to leave you. So remember, the British Empire could have destroyed the Federation if you think about it. I agree, Al Weifu. Now the British Empire is going to destroy itself. whether he wanted, so people try to justify that all the time. Well, Cisco didn't want to do it. He blah blah blah. He could have gotten out of it. I think there are ways he could have gotten out of it, but he not only and even if you assume that he couldn't have, he wasn't regretful. He made a joke out of it. He found it funny. So really, are you gonna defend that? Really? Good morning, Laura and people here. Hope you're having a good weekend. I am. Hope you're having a good weekend. That episode where Trip was pregnant, they copy it from Alien Nation when Francisco had his daughter. Okay, well, that's fine. It was, I haven't seen the Alien Nation episode, or I don't remember it. It was horrific in the Enterprise. By the way, Nathan, you know I was messing with you, right, buddy? I'm sure you knew I was messing with you. By the way, 64 people watching, only 18 likes. Guys, if you want me to do more of these, we have to get the conversation going. We have to talk. Hit that like button. Don't be scared of it. It is more scared of you than you are of it. Media Glitch, you got a lot of information, that brain of yours. I feel like I can't remember all the stuff I watched. It all gets blurred together. Dude, I do this for a living, so don't feel too bad. I study Trek every day. I'm sure if you did it as much as I did, you'd remember too. It's Commander Sloan says it's a shame we never got a few TNG episodes, or at least one of the TNG movies. Insurrection would have been a great TNG mirror universe. It would have been interesting. I agree. But yeah, going back to what we were talking about beforehand, and having the discussion on Pike, my sincere opinion, yes, Charles Rhinley, we can see your posts in chat. My sincere opinion on this whole thing is I think it was at a minimum disrespectful. I sincerely feel, and I do think the entire episode was disrespectful towards women. And I honestly think that Pike was being sexist in that moment. That said, I do think you could I do think you could explain it by him just using that as a buffer because he was ashamed that he got an officer killed and that officer had to be replaced. And at worst, he didn't think women should be on the bridge. That's my honest opinion of it. That said, when you look at it from the 1960s, that's just the culture that it was. Was it okay? Was it good? I'm not saying that, but I am saying that we can understand it. If the actor or Pike was alive today, I think that he should be held to those statements today. But back then, I don't know that you should hold it against him. I've never really been a part of cancel culture where if you say something during a time that was just accepted. It kind of goes back to what you see with a lot of YouTubers too. And this is going to get mad because this is crossing lines and people hate it. Before I get into that, Will Lawson, dude, women don't belong on the bridge. Well, let me say this, and I don't mean it disrespectful, but what you think about women being on the bridge in real life doesn't matter to me. I don't care. What we're looking at is the Star Trek universe. What happens in the Star Trek universe may or may not be consistent with what happens in the real universe. So, here's what we need to discuss. In the Star Trek universe, can and do women work on the bridge and successfully do so? The answer to that is yes. Whether it works in real life is irrelevant. In the Star Trek universe, that's how it works. In Evangelion, they have demons or whatever the hell, aliens come down and completely destroy Tokyo, and kids apparently get into the husks of these dead aliens and take on these other bad people and kill them. Does that happen in real life? Do we get 12-year-olds, shove them into amniotic fluid of dead aliens and have them fight other aliens? No. So regardless of what occurs in real life, whether you think women should be in the military in real life, which you and I disagree, but doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter what either of us thinks. All that matters is in the Star Trek universe, does it work? And the storytelling tells us that in the Star Trek universe, it does. Now, Wayne, why do you never talk about Warhammer 40K in the Star Trek universe? Well, I haven't gotten to that crossover that occurs. But I'll definitely get into it. I want to talk about Warhammer 40K. It's so in depth, man. It is absolutely in depth. I'm still trying to read and know more information about it. You just described the Space Force, kids versus aliens. Okay. But yeah, so, I mean, and you know, I don't want to get into that argument because that's not what this channel is about. But whether women should be in the military or not is irrelevant. In the Star Trek universe, they can. In that writing, they can. So for that, they do. Will Lawson, okay, but in the Star Trek universe, this was the time of change, I guess? Sure. And we can have that discussion, I mean, you know, it was, and that would be my counter to it. You're like, well, why would they do that? Well, first off, it's sci-fi. They write whatever they want, but humanity was supposed to be at its peak, right? It was supposed to, everybody came together, equality, blah, 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 even though some of the episodes don't bear that out. But what they said was supposed to happen. So in theory, yeah, you know, they change. You know, men and women are equal or whatever the hell you want to do. So, you know, and I appreciate that you didn't take that. A lot of people take my responses harshly. So thank you, Will, for not taking it harshly. But yeah, for whatever reason, regardless of if it works in real life or not, it works in Star Trek. And that's really all we focus on at that point. Because again, I just do not want to, I don't care. This is not a political channel. I think it's sad that it's political to debate whether men and women should both serve in the military. But anyway, that's different. Backslide Dan, helping out the channel. Thank you so much. Forget sexism. What about the racial themes and other races of Star Trek? Tuvok, sure, but ANR are hidden in mountains. Riemann's locked away on the moon. So Backslide Dan, with you don't have to. Thank you so much for giving. You don't have to give again, but if you could expand on that for me, just at Lore Reloaded, so I can see it. Forget sexism. What about the racial themes? You know, in the ANR and the Riemann's, I'll be honest with you, I don't necessarily think those are the most prominent racial themes that we discuss when it comes to things that happen in Star Trek. I can't think of it off the top of my head, but I'd say there's a lot better episodes that discuss racial themes and being different in that way. But in the original series, I could be wrong, but I feel like there were times when species were treated more harshly in the original series and even in the Next Generation. But I could be wrong. I'd have to look into that. Indy Tiger, Pike thinks number one as family, a good shipmate. That's fair. You know, I don't, maybe, but that's not what she wants to be looked at. And again, I think that's where it's kind of disrespectful. She wants to be wanted. Women can interact with men and have a captain and not, you know, want to do everything, you know. Backslide, basically we're the only species with race in it in Star Trek. Everyone else is homogenous. That was done on purpose. I don't know why it was continued into DS9, Voyager, or Enterprise, or even Discovery. But that was done on purpose because the Star Trek or Starfleet was supposed to be like the United States, and everyone else was supposed to be like Russia or China, where it's more homogenous. So Starfleet brings everyone together because the United States is awesome. You know, the Russians are the Romulans, the Chinese are the Klingons, or whoever the hell they were supposed to be, and they're more homogenous, which makes them evil and bad. And, you know. Hey, Laura, what's your thoughts on Trek's contradictory use of time travel, making JJ verse in one instance and needing time police Janeway Ram to fix in another? So ever since TNG, hey, I'm live, just so you know. Okay.
I wanted to teach the viewers something.
That depends. What's up?
Did you know what turtles say?
Oh, yeah, the turtles thing.
They say, ah.
Yeah, we found a turtle. We found a turtle episode where that's all they did. You want to say one more thing to him? All right, love you.
Yeah.
All right, go play, baby.
Subscribe so I can eat.
Subscribe so you can eat. Wow, you've been listening to me. Yeah, subscribe so she can eat. There's a modicum of truth to that. What was I saying? So, multiple universes. In TNG Parallels, we know that hypertime exists, which is why I don't get too upset about it. Lore Runner talks more in this, but hypertime basically means that anything that can happen will happen. And so the universe is basically all of these other multiple universes. So hypertime, as an example, is you see this cup right here? In another universe, I take this cup and throw it out that window you can't see. In another universe, I smash it into my hand. In this universe, I set it back down. All of those things happened. And so the fact that all of these different instances exist doesn't surprise or even annoy me. It's just what happened. And it's one of the reasons why, for me, I don't have a problem linking all of the series. All of the series are supposed to be linked, and all of them happen one after the other in the thing. And with hypertime, even if some of it is contradictory, it could have still happened. This is the prime universe. This is where those contradictory things happen. So I don't necessarily get too upset about it. I this is going to make a lot of people mad. I like the JJ universe because I thought it was a fresh look. I thought it took something and turned it on its head and investigated. I thought it was really interesting that in the original series, during Kirk's time, Section 31 was so powerful that they had bases of operation. When in Deep Space Nine, we know that they did not, that they kept in little cells. How interesting is that to look into? So I like JJ verse just of how it twisted things and how you could look at it, and they could do anything. And that's one of the reasons I don't like Discovery, because Discovery is basically a reboot, but they'd say it's not. Lauren and Lois Stevenson helping out the channel. When the show came out, breaking ground on subjects like racial and gender equality, they still had to acknowledge it to the prude masculine viewers. Sure. I don't necessarily disagree. Standing Way say it's a good way to BS around all the plot holes. It is. I will agree with that. This is the first live video that I've not gotten a notice for. If you have Twitter, can you ping me and say you didn't get it and include the link to this, and I'll tell YouTube about it. Off topic, but I gotta know, what do you personally believe? Is Darth Vader's powers limited due to his amputation, or are we going with Yoda's luminous beings? Are we not this crude matter? I don't know. Believe it or not, this originally was a Star Wars channel. I was a huge Star Wars fan. A lot of the ways that it was always explained in the expanded universe was that the suit gave him back his full amount of power. He did seem to be less powerful than he was as Anakin. And if you go with the midichlorian, which I think is stupid, but if you go with midichlorians, if you take off limbs, then you reduce the number of midichlorians that he has, just by definition. So, I don't know. Nathan Norman, I didn't like two things in the JJ universe: the ridiculous brightness of everything and the unnecessary large windows on the bridge. Ducat would have a field day aiming for that thing. Well, that, and like in Discovery, the thing that annoyed me in Discovery, it's like you have these huge windows. Man, and the windows have an issue. The windows have an issue with being unable to dim at a certain point. If I'm fighting if I'm fighting a Starfleet vessel, I am going to create a light that they can't dim and just flash that thing at the bridge all the time. Just all the time. It is an incredibly horrific weakness. Incredibly horrific. Indie Tiger, Uhura is more progressive character than Troy or Crusher. I would agree. Backslide, YouTube comments are horrible for sharing complicated theories. I agree with that too. On Star Trek Discovery, I bet the Dominion in the new timeline will destroy Sections 31. Unfortunately, Commander Sloan, Star Trek Discovery is not a new timeline. I know you guys hate that, but it is what it is, good friends. Yeah, that could be explained by the Nero attack causing Starfleet to give Section 31 more power. In Discovery, an intelligence agency had a whole fleet for no apparent reason. Well, and here's the thing, too. Not only did Nero's attack jump-started Federation technology. The Enterprise in the first JJ verse is so much more powerful, and that is specifically due to the fact that the Nero attack, they took all of the scans and stuff and utilized them to create more powerful weaponry. I think Starfleet was probably top dog at that point. I think they could have taken on... they talk about this horrific war with the Klingon Empire, but I think that, especially when you look at what they designed, they might not have lost that. Standing wave, I can just go on pretending Discovery doesn't exist? Okay, well, that's fair. TOS has wholesome values. Yeah, Lego, you mean like the wholesome value of if you're ugly, you can't return to society? That kind of wholesome value there? Star Wars Episode 1 should not have had Sidious shown in his Sith gear until the end. It should have had Dooku as the puppet master. Sure. I wonder how they're going to explain the altered timeline in Picard, or will they? I could see him doing one of two things. Either ignoring it or trying to justify it. I think that they're going to put references to Discovery. And I think they're going to also put references to TNG and others. There's a Flurkin behind me. Yeah, that was a horrible thing when in the movie. For Marvel spoilers ahead, but what happened with his eye? That was just stupid. I hated that. She was crippled, not just ugly. Okay, I stand corrected. You know what? Will has shown me the light. Not being ugly isn't the end all. Isn't the deal breaker for going into society. According to the original series, if you're crippled and you're ugly, you shouldn't return to society. It doesn't matter if you're just an ugly cripple. Then according to the original series, you don't deserve love. Thank you for setting me straight, Will. I appreciate that. Jazz Panda, are you considering going into the Expanse for some videos? I actually have some videos on the Expanse. Lego, my ego says plus, talking about the woman who stayed. I want to say she stayed to help those who remain. No, there is no interpretation of what you could have said. That what they said in that show that would lead me to believe that. Bird of Prey, you're beautiful, man. Bird of Prey is you're a beautiful human being. You got nothing to worry about, buddy. Nathan Norman. And an ugly cripple is this Disney Star Trek because they teach the same lesson? I don't think Disney teaches those lessons, do they? Not currently. Sideshow Kaz. Well, according to the original series, it is. Being disabled is a deal breaker for returning. According to the original series. Well, by staying, she could... Will says, by staying, she could be not ugly nor crippled, and staying is a good option. I don't disagree with that. She could live in a fantasy, though. I don't know that that's a lesson we want to teach our kids, to not face reality. I think we have problems in our universities because we allow kids not to face reality. But I understand what you're saying, Will, and I think that's worthy of debate. Should she have been able to stay if it gave her a happier life versus, should she return? So, I mean, that's not unfair. Standing wave, in the future, all ugly people will be adjusted in utero. Well, it's too late for me, isn't it, boys? By the way, guys, we got 87 people watching, 46 likes. Are you guys, are you scared? Are you scared to hit that button? Don't be scared. Love the button. Love it.
I wanted to make a quick side note.
What?
All the people in my class don't know what Lord Reloaded is. How crazy is that?
Well, that's sad. How do they not know?
And I keep telling them.
Yeah, a 4th grade class not knowing what my channel is?
Yeah.
Especially when it's geared towards adults, really, when you think about it?
And stuff.
And stuff, high five.
And I told them what it is over and over again.
Well, maybe they need to know now.
Okay. And could you repeat how many of your fans are there?
I'm not sure.
Because
Okay.
I think your fans would like that.
I think my fans are aware. I mean, you know.
Could you please say
I mean, I'll do it for you, but it doesn't.
Yay.
Numbers aren't everything, though, right? I mean, there's more to life than the
Love.
amount of people that follow you. Sure, love is an option too. I have 64,449 subscribers right now, publicly viewable.
Some people might not know that.
Yeah, so now they do. Now some are going to unsubscribe because they think that I'm egotistical. That'd be sad, wouldn't it?
Wah.
All right, go play. We're going to do stuff this afternoon. Love you.
Yay, we're swimming!
I need to wave more fake guns turning 34343. You know, I do need to do that. I do. Eradicate the filthy normies. Will Lawson, first live chat. Where's the mystical button? It's just the thumb up button. Can you reverse and warp? Warp is something that has been inconsistent through the years. Anti-Trekker has done an interesting video on it. That is intriguing. If you look at warp, it seems more than likely a bubble forms around the ship. Otaku Panda in the house. Otaku Panda is absolutely adorable. She does some of the funnest Let's Plays ever, so go subscribe to her. But the ship creates a warp bubble around it, and that bubble moves. The ship doesn't. In theory, the ship just stays still while it's moved through space. That seems the most likely explanation of how warp works. So can it move in reverse? It's possible if you could reverse the bubble. But the ship itself, in theory, doesn't move. I wish I could take my kids to work. My kid just bawls when I take her to daycare.
My dad was a YouTuber because he didn't want to go to work and have us home alone.
Sure. Well, you wouldn't be home alone at your age if I went to work. I'd have a babysitter.
Yeah, but he didn't want to leave us.
Oh, no, I don't. Nope. All right. So, but yeah, back to the original topic. Can you guys actually turn in warp? Only Voyager episode said you can't. Only that Voyager episode said you can't. In Star Trek II, there was clearly a curved path in the Kobu simulation. The Kobayashi Maru is what you're talking about. I don't know. Why couldn't you turn? Which Voyager episode are you talking about? I don't even remember that. On JJ Verse and Star Trek Discovery, they improved it with trans-warp transportation, but I like TNG subspace transportation. Section 31 might have used it. Okay. Emergency reverse warp, any direction, mentioned several times in the original series. Okay, well, then there you go. Though that would raise some interesting questions in the Next Generation as well as DS9, where we see the ship turn around. Have I done a Force of Nature episode? I don't know what a Force of Nature episode is. You'd have to expand for it. Yes, Lego, they do have inertial dampeners. I agree. All right, guys, so we'll be ending it pretty quickly. What do you guys... We'll take a few more comments and then be on our way. Tom Paris says it's best to go in a straight line. Okay. Well, he says it's best to go in a straight line. Does that mean you have to go in a straight line, though? Spore Drive Spore Drive makes everything obsolete. The Spore Drive is just ridiculous. It breaks it in all ways. I'm glad they got rid of it, but the way they got rid of it doesn't make a ton of sense to me. Even if, Discovery spoilers for those who care, even if they decided not to, and they made it so the Spore Drive was top secret or whatever, where only one person would know about it. In theory, they would use it at least twice to save Voyager. There's no way they wouldn't. Like that button. I wonder if Worf's son Alex ever met Belana on Earth when they were kids. Oh, maybe. Maybe they were best buds. Maybe it was true love. Did you see my comment on You're the Cage video? It explains all your issues, says Jeff. I don't know that I did. I don't think so. Would you like to repeat it? No, it's just best to. Janeway asks this question. They got rid of it because the entire idea was stolen from someone else, wasn't it? That's still debatable and still in court. That's an unpopular opinion on my side, but I'm not convinced that Voyager did a lot wrong in that. There are some things that are really weird and possibly derived, but a lot of it doesn't seem to be. Commander Sloan says, have a good day. Enjoy the weekend. You too. Commander Sloan, Spore Drive was basically, it's like Robotech Macross mode of traveling, except if you transport yourself, make sure you're not on a planet or have ships next to you. Correct. I don't know what Dune's faster than light drive is, so I can't speak to that. I like 50s Trek when men were men, says my Echo. Okay. TOS was progressive for its time. The 1960s were progressive, but they weren't exactly the epitome of progressivism and equality. What is your fave intro in Star Trek? Deep Space Nine, once they actually get into it, was interesting. I like TNG's. Hated Enterprise. What if the Department of Temporal Investigation was the ones who helped cover up the Spore Drive and have it lost in Discovery? I mean, that's interesting. I think I've done a theory on that, where the reason why we don't see, like in Star Trek Enterprise, they have a crap ton of Borg technology on Earth that we never see. And I think that we can explain that away by Section 31 gobbling it all up and being literal centuries ahead of everyone else. I could see the same thing happening with a Spore Drive, but it's writing for them, you know. The Telosians could do anything with their mental powers. They could make anyone believe anything, even if it didn't make sense in normal situations. That's not completely true, Jeff. They talk about what the Telosians can and can't do in the cage. The Telosians can create a simulation or make you see something, but they can't make you do anything. So they can't change your memory. They can't force you to do anything. They can only show you a projection. So to say they can make you do anything is inaccurate. Basically, a classic jump drive from any sci-fi, but the jump is calculated by an organic being. Okay. The Telosians could do... Oh, I already talked about that. All right, guys, you want to talk about anything else before I get off? Giggity. Give it a couple of seconds. Yeah, they did something new with this layout. I'm not like a huge fan of this layout. I'm going to be completely honest. But I don't hate it. This is going to take some getting used to. They can influence the heck out of you. It depends on what you mean influence. No, they can't directly influence you. They can make you see something. If you say, I can make you see something and make you feel something or make you feel like it's real, if that's influence, then I would agree. But if influence is they make you believe something, they can't directly make you believe it. Don't forget to hit that like button. If the SAS can disappear from public knowledge from the Second World War only to reemerge in the 80s, then I'm sure Starfleet can make the Spore Drive disappear. Did the SAS completely disappear, though? Did they? Did they completely? The Enterprise landing party believed everything they were told and didn't think another thing about it. This was just all flies and illusion that everyone thought believable. I agree, Jeff. The other thing I agree is that the landing party was somewhat stupid. Warp drive existed for over 200 years by that time. And so the survivors were like, the survivors didn't know about warp drive. That would literally be like if a ship, 18 years ago, a ship went missing and and they didn't realize that metal existed. It is a huge red flag. spacing guild from Dune are base created. It's used because of them to travel a giant cylinder, basically like the Spore Drive, except the real Hutts from Dune voluntarily used it. Okay. They can't do that. So maybe the Telosians made them think the radio waves was something solid. They literally can't do that. They can't make you think. That makes absolutely no sense. These humans would know, or the crew would know, radio waves aren't solid. That would be a huge red flag. If today we know radio waves aren't solid. So if I'm driving in my car and somehow on my phone download a radio wave detector, and it tells me there's a radio wave in front of me and I'm going to hit it, that's going to create a red flag for me. That's going to make me think, something is wrong. I know, because I'm not an idiot, that radio waves pass through things and they're not physical objects. All of a sudden, everything's telling me this is a physical object. I need to consider what that means. Am I going insane? Is this a different radio wave that we've never seen? And if it's a different radio wave that we've never seen that is a physical object, why wouldn't I investigate it? You see what I'm saying, Jeff? I'm not saying I'm just saying I get where you're going with this, and it's possible. I just disagree with you when it comes to that point. Got a new member, Judge 1981. Thank you so much, guys. Memberships, donations through Super Chats, Patreon. It's how I keep feeding the kids. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I am a single dad, in fact. And yeah, I forget who asked it, but some radio waves aren't solid yet. In the original series episode, they were afraid they were about to hit a radio wave. Scott Anastasio says the idea of space was a lot different in the 1960s. Well, not only was space considered different in the 1960s, the writing style was different too. Even in the 1960s, they know that radio waves aren't physical objects. You could write something like that because people during that time weren't as critical of things. They didn't break it down to the unreasonable depths that we do, Yeah, Laura, you're insane, but maybe in the U.S. you don't hit the radio. So it's in the United States. In the United States, you don't hit the radio waves. That's right. Like Maego says, U.S. has the best radio waves. They're huge. Now, some people say that. Not me, but scientists tell me this all the time, that U.S. radio waves are the best radio waves. That people in China, they love our radio waves. That China wishes that our radio waves were like their radio waves, but they're not. Distress calls are created to cause this type of interference, according to Pike. That makes no sense. That makes no sense. Why would you do that? That's dangerous as hell. First off, I don't think you could do that, but that's dangerous as hell. Turning 343, maybe I misunderstood. They had their VPN connection down and were afraid of hitting the radio waves unsecured. That makes more sense. I understand. I suspect that once the EU gets done in most European countries will be my VPN will get hit pretty hard. Have you thought about Streamlabs? I would rather YouTube not get. Oh, please. Kegro Rogers, have you thought about Streamlabs? I would rather not get 10 to 20%. He'd rather not YouTube get 10 to 20%. I wish YouTube got 10 to 20%, my good friend. YouTube takes 40% of everything I earn. 40%. 40, good friend. I wish it was 20%. I do actually have a Streamlabs. It should have come through. I need to redo that. Because I use Stream Elements, not Streamlabs. I don't like Streamlabs, but I like Stream Elements. The best way is through my Patreon, not my Patreon, I'm sorry, my PayPal. Which, for anyone who's interested, since you asked, thank you for asking. You guys are good people. I need to start pimping that more. Right there, I get 100% if you use that. That's it. Tariffs on radio waves. When the radio waves are coming to our country, they are not sending their best. These radio waves are hitting our cars and causing them to crash. Can we agree Pike should have retired before this mission? He was pretty burnt out, I would say that. I have to remind myself that the 70s aired before, that TOS aired before we sent humans. Did TOS air before we sent humans to the moon? I didn't know that. Well, no, it does make sense to have a distress signal that interferes with other electronic messages. No, it doesn't. Not at all. All right, so here's what's going to happen. I'm a Klingon, or I'm a Romulan, and I find out that distress signals mess with Starfleet and Federation vessels. You know what every one of my warships is going to be outfitted with? Distress signals that mess and screw up Starfleet and Federation ships. Absolutely, all day, every day. It is kind of like when when Voyager detected the what was it that overrides the Prime Directive? Overrides Prime Directive. What is that molecule? It's in Voyager. The Omega. The Omega particle. The Omega particle shuts down a ship. 100% shuts down a ship. Whoops. Sorry, guys. It shuts down a ship. It makes it so the ship can't move. It stops utilizing its warp drive. And it makes it so the consoles can absolutely not be utilized. If I'm a Dominion agent, if I am in the Dominion, every one of my warships is going to emit a Omega molecule signal. I am going to win the Dominion War in a day. In a day. And you cannot tell me that the founders would not have found out about the Omega directive or the Omega molecule. You can't tell me that wouldn't have happened. The immortal super being. So when the Klingons, Romulans, and Vulcans, not just them, when every species talks, the universal translator turns it into something that can be understood. Don't even ask about the UK and the EU. We are all very confused over here. Yeah, the UK is pretty screwed up. Politically, you guys are in bad straits. I don't know that we'll see the Conservative Party survive this. And I don't think that's a good thing. For people who are happy about the Conservative Party, the Tories, being ripped apart, it's quite possible that a more fringe ideology will rise from their ashes, and then you guys are going to be more screwed than you think. In my opinion. I mean, I could be wrong. Again, since Star Trek Discovery is a new timeline that Captain Pike hopefully will live a full life as Captain, later Admiral. Nope. First off, Commander Sloan, it's not a new timeline, whether you choose to accept that or not. Talk to you later, Justice Ag. Thanks so much. By the way, did someone... Maybe I missed it. And can I go back up? OMF Goats, thank you so much. Oh my F Goats. I appreciate that. I forget what I was saying. See you later, Justice Ag. Thanks so much for coming by, buddy. Always fun. The original series, final episode, date June 3, 1969. Moon landing, 20 July, 1969. Oh, I didn't. Okay. Well, I mean, I'm not surprised by that, but for some reason I had it in my mind. I don't know. I'm an American. I don't know when we went to the moon. All right, guys, that reminds me. What is it? OMFG Oats. Gotcha. What is it? Fake Landing to the Moon movie. There is a movie about faking the moon landing. And I absolutely love the director, and it's called Operation Avalanche. If you haven't seen it, please watch it. I don't think it's real, but I think it's a wonderful movie. Have you been crying, Laura, or is it just very hot where you are? Bad Wolf, thank you so much for pointing out how I don't look that great. I really want to say thank you. It is hard to believe that nerds don't get... it's hard to believe how nerds get a bad reputation for not having social graces. It just blows my mind, buddy. I'm not feeling the greatest, but it may just be the lighting. I'm playing with the lighting, so I'll try to make myself look a little more up. Here, we can do it now. We can do it live. Look. You people tire me. All right, let's go to configure video. Let's go to properties. I can raise my exposure. I thought I looked okay here, but there we go. Do I look better? Do I look better for you? Are you happy? No, now I look like a fucking... I don't like that. There we go. I don't like all that brightness on me. How deep into the Alpha Quadrant is the Federation? When you think about Voyager should be home in the Alpha Quadrant for years before reaching the UFP. Alpha Quadrant's pretty big. They take over a large swath of it, but it's pretty huge. You don't have to return to society lore. We can make you happy. You look fabulous. What is the perfect size for a hero ship? 10. 10. Kenny, I say no, it's not possible. It's not possible? What the hell are you guys talking about? Can someone make a universal translator today? It should be possible. Yeah, I mean, you can download one on your phone. Now, does it work exactly like what we see before? No. But I can download and have it read any language that I want that we're aware of. I'm giving you guys a hard time. Bad Wolf knows I'm messing with you. I'm feeling okay, guys. I might have a cold coming on, but I feel okay. You can stay hidden in the attic just like the most of us. Okay. You do look a tad flush. Well, they did reach the center of the galaxy in just one movie. Yeah, that movie's horrific. That movie breaks it. That movie is the, what is it? Threshold. That movie is the Threshold of Star Trek movies. Do we know anything about other galaxies? Some one-offs in TNG talk about other galaxies, but we don't know anything definitive. I'd like to have the universal translator from Farscape. I don't know what that is. Well, they did reach... Oh, we already talked about that. Okay, maybe I can say it better. We've already talked about that. Going back to time travel, what if the USS Eldridge from the Philadelphia experiment really went to the past? Another movie about the fake landings was Capricorn 170s with O.J. Simpson. I don't know what any of that means, so I'm just going to agree with it. In the original TOS pilot, it said they were in another galaxy. No, it didn't. It said they were on the other side of the galaxy. I think. Not even galaxy. Other side of like... I don't know, but it didn't say another galaxy. It said they were on the other side of something. Unless I'm mistaken, didn't the Universal Translator in Trek use some sort of telepathic technology? I have never heard or seen that dog of war. I'd be interested in an episode if you have one. You get 100% on PayPal? I do, Kigo Rogers. 100% if you send it directly to that link that I just put in the thing. But I'll be honest, because you can't set up like monthly things. If you're like a Patreon or you're in the memberships, I almost prefer that just so you don't have to remember. But if you want to do one-offs, PayPal is the best way to do it. In Farscape, the translators are microbes. Huh. Okay. It was all computing power from what I call... Yeah, everything I understand of the universal translators was that it's all technology. And that's the only way you can understand it. All right, guys, I think we're going to end it there. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget... I actually did a video before I get off. The Universal Translator, in my opinion, is a dystopian piece of technology. Here we go. Lore theory. Because I think you can change minds by changing the language. Give me a second. So let me find it. I'm going to share it here, and then I think we'll be done. Wait for it. It's a lore theory. Where the hell is it? Okay, I know I have lore theories. I have more than that. Show all. The hell. Lore theory. Dukat knew of Changeling Bashir to Starfleet Fear AI. Dukat caused Roman are the temporal agents. A Federation utopia sustained by Section How I Marry Sue saves Star Trek. Mycelial network fixes time travel. Borg rebellions. Was TOS actually still Starfleet bombed Antwerp? Did Cybok try to overthrow Antwerp? Did Janeway? Where'd it go? All right, I did a video. I'm not sure where it is, but it discusses how the universal translator changes language and thus makes it dystopian because they control the language. I'm not sure where it is. It's somewhere there. You guys should go try to find it. That's what you do all day. Comment on Duhan's performance in Through Dead Eyes. I don't think I've seen that. Susan Oliver's documentary, The Green Girl. See it here on YouTube. I'll take a look at it. Guys, don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe. Thanks so much for watching. I cannot wait to talk to you guys next time. And I'll see you on the next. Whoop. Lore Reloaded.